Hello and welcome to our monthly Edge User Group webinar. And before we get started, I'd like to go over a few things. One is to please turn on your closed captions if you haven't already. You can ask your questions using the Q&A feature. You can ask at any time, and you can ask anonymously. And last but not least, the recording will be available on our ACRO website within 24 hours. And without any further ado, I would like to hand it over to Dave. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Velma. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our September edition of Edge User Group. Unlike our fearless leader in the international department, Julia Funaki, who can't be with us today, she's en route to another assignation. I do not have any bits from the Farmer's Almanac. I can just say it is very warm and dry where I am in the upper Great Lakes Midwest, and I hope it's a little bit moister wherever you are.
Well, Dave, for anyone that if this is their first time coming to one of these Edge user groups, they're missing out on just wonderful bits of knowledge. And so I have something that I can share in Julia's stead. Today, September 19th, is a holiday that I have celebrated since I was way back in high school. It is International Talk Like a Pirate Day. And so all of ye landlubbers out there, I'm looking forward to some puns throughout. Like, what's a pirate's favorite letter in the alphabet? All of you that said R are incorrect. It's C, obviously. And if you said C, it's R. You just switch it. But anywho, sorry to interrupt. I had to share something since Julia wasn't here to give us a little piece of knowledge. Back to you, Nady.
Thank you for that enrichment. In any case, as many of you know, and for you first timers, if there are any, we haven't done that poll yet. The Edge User Group is basically powered by the deliberations and voting of and scholarship of the International Education Standards Council. We don't have education in there for some reason, but I remembered it anyway, which is chaired by Jasmine Saidi-Kienert. And amongst the members that we have with us today who will be speaking on things are Robert Watkins and Shelby Kearley. And who else do we have? Jasmine's here. In any case, the council meets twice a month and deliberates on all the things that need to come into Edge. And so every time someone writes into Edge and says, you know, this credential is missing, or I don't agree with this grading scale, or I don't agree with this comparability statement, advice to admissions officers, as it used to be called, the council deliberates on that. And I think that pretty much gives you the idea of what I wanted to say there. I'll go back to you, Drew.
Hey, thank you very much, Dave. And for those of you that this is your first time, welcome. We are going to be sending out a poll here in just a second to understand a little bit more about who we're talking to in this room today. So are you an Edge subscriber? Is this your first user group? And what segment do you represent, you know, when you're sitting at your desk? We're looking for how you see yourself in that professional capacity. Institutional, are you with an evaluation agency, perhaps a ministry or a government agency or a law firm, an immigration department? Where do you see yourself? We'll leave this up for a little while I'm talking about what we're going to be talking about today. We've got a little bit of a discussion about the Doctor of Physical Therapy, or physiotherapy, as some of you may see it. Some various nursing credentials out of Kenya. We have gotten a notification that that is something that some people see a fair bit of, and so we want to be sure to reflect that. We're trying to be responsive. Speaking of responsive, there's a survey coming just a little bit later. It's more than 3 questions. It'll take a few minutes, but it is really an opportunity to share with us how we can make Edge the best for you. We know that sample documents is something everyone is always looking for. And so we want to hear all of your suggestions for how we can improve this more for you. But things that we've been improving include distinctions in Ethiopia with the SSLE there's the ESSLCE. If you can keep the names of all of those credentials set straight, I'm very proud of you. I have to keep a list of all of those different changes, and we're going to have a member of the IESC come on and talk about some of the questions that we got in our Edge user in the submit and update section. And we're going to talk about a wide-ranging impact for grading scales for examinations administered by the CXC. You don't want to hear from me too much. I would like to just see, hey, 93% of you are already subscribed to Edge. If you're not, there is an opportunity for you to get a free trial for a week. You can navigate over to acro.org/edge, and there will be information along that top menu where you can get that free trial when you're over subscribing. You can just get a free trial set up that way. For those of you that have been here before, welcome back. Thank you. We really do appreciate the community that we're generating here, and how it is a good place to ask questions, to learn, and to push that professionalism forward and out through the entire community. Speaking of communities, I'm going to share something about the Acro Exchange communities with you a little bit later. For those of you with an evaluation service, the government, thank you so much. I'm not trying to forget about y'all. I see you out there, even though my camera is the only one that's on right now. I'm going to get someone else to turn their camera on, and let's head down to the subcontinent and discuss some of those distinctions between the Doctor of Physical Therapy, the Doctor of Physiotherapy, all of these various credentials. Robert, I give the baton to you.
Okay, Drew, glad to. Have we got it up there yet? Let's see. Coming. There we go. All right, great. Welcome, everyone. Here's one that I thought that I sort of took care of last year, but what we got from a submission out there was not only the question that why was they actually had it, and unlike what is in Edge, the document they had didn't look like that, or didn't say that, didn't call it the in any of the names that we had in there actually, and so that, and they even sent a credential in, and so a redacted one, and so I then went on the web to see, well, what's going on. We had this all explained in the Drew's got it there for you, the link. If you tap on it, you'll see that last year we said that this is the name of the 12th grade leaving certificate exam, and that's what it has been since 2003, variously called Ethiopian Higher Education Entrance Exam or Ethiopian University Entrance Exam. And then we have a note that says, in 2021, the National Education Assessment Agency for Pakistan changed the name to Secondary School Leaving Exam, SSLE. Well, lo and behold, that's not what's on the December 2021 sample or document that our Edge user came across at their institution. And so sure enough, when they sent it in, it had December 2021 on there with the name Ethiopian Secondary School Leaving Certificate Examination, parenthesis, ESSLCE. So everything I wrote last year seems to have gone down the tube. So naturally I went online to see what's going on, because that's where I got all my information last year, and it seemed accurate enough. Well, as it turns out, there is no reference whatsoever by even the National Education Assessment Agency in Pakistan of the name SSLE that I put into the Edge entry last year. They only refer to, generally speaking, the same term is used over and over again. In other words, if you go online and type in leaving exam or what Ethiopian leaving exam, they'll come back with the grade 12 exam. That's what they consistently call it. Well, okay, I'm fine with colloquial local terms used in lieu of the official name, but what is the official name? Well, there's no information anywhere. So as of today, I'm not sure whether what we said last year is in fact true, that in 2021 they changed it to the SSLE, because we have proof, unless it's a forgery, of course, that that national agency issued a Ethiopian secondary school leaving certificate exam, or ESSLCE. Anyway, and there's still references, this is what kills me, there's still references on the web when talking about the grade 12 exam to the EUEEC, the Ethiopian University Entrance Exam Certificate. So right as of today, I'd have to say we're still up in the air on this. We'll try to get to the bottom of it. Naturally, if any of you come across some really recent ones, 2022, 23, whatever, it'd be great if you would redact those and send them in to Drew so that we can see what's going on and what they are actually calling it. Barring that, what we'll probably have to do is contact someone with Education USA, or ideally someone, if we can get to them, someone in the National Educational Assessment and Examinations Agency, the NEAEA of Pakistan, and find out what is the name today, when did it change, and see if we get any answers to that. So that's kind of where we are at present on trying to sort this thing out. So with that sort of mystifying explanation, I will turn it back over to Drew, or maybe
Hey,
straight to
Robert.
Shelby.
Hey, Robert, I think that I put the slides in there in an improper order. Can you confirm for everyone that we were just talking about Ethiopia or Pakistan? I think I put the slides in there in that in that funny
Sorry.
order.
Okay, that may, yeah, that's right. Originally we had Ethiopia first, and then we switched it to Pakistan. So I apologize for that, folks. But that was the rundown on Ethiopia. After Shelby tells you about Kenya, I'll come back and talk about Pakistan. Sorry about the mix-up.
No problem. That's what happens when we move things around at the last minute. Hello, everybody. Sorry, my camera's not on. There we go. All right, let's try that again. Hello, everybody. I will be discussing another question that came in via submitted update. A user had asked a question specifically about the diploma in community health nursing offered in Kenya, but what that actually led us to was to realize that there are several nursing credentials and another certificate that's health related that aren't currently listed in EDGE. So the next few slides are going to walk you through some of those. And these have not been added in EDGE yet. We will be having a final vote with the IESC soon. And once we make that final vote, then the approved edits will be added. So the first one that we're going to talk about is the certificate issued by the Kenya Medical Training College. The admission requirement for this program is the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education. It is available in a number of health-related fields, like radiology technician, that kind of a thing. This program is 2 years in length. It does allow students to either enter the workforce or to go on to additional education. If you go to the next slide, please. The next certificate that we want to add is the certificate in enrolled community health nursing. Again, the admission requirement for this is the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education. This program is slightly longer than the regular certificate. It is a 2.5 or 2.5 years in length. This is similar to what is called up in the northern part of the United States, the licensed practical nurse, what's called down in my area of the United States, licensed vocational nursing. So it's similar to those kind of programs in the United States. It allows for licensure with the Kenya Nursing Council for what they call registered enrolled community health nursing. And again, that's similar to the LPN or LVN here in the United States. If you'll go to the next slide, please. Next is one that is no longer offered, and I will tell you that I'm still trying to determine exactly when it was last offered, so we can add that to the credential author notes for your future reference. But the diploma in general nursing was the original nursing credential that allowed for licensure as a registered nurse. This has been replaced with is going to be on the next slide, the diploma in community health nursing. The admission requirement for this credential was the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education. It was 3 years in length. And as I mentioned, it allowed for registration with the Kenyan Nursing Council as a registered nurse. Students who did complete this program could go on to specialize in a particular area of nursing. They could also enroll in post-basic Bachelor of Science in Nursing programs. If you'll go to the next slide, please. This is the one that our user actually asked about. This is the diploma in community health nursing. Again, the admission requirement is the Kenya Certificate of Education. It was 3.5 years in length through the 2018-2019 school year. Since 2019-2020 school year, this seems to be changed to 3 years. Now, that length can be different. It can be a little bit shorter if a student has completed the certificate in enrolled community health nursing prior to joining this program. If they are upgrading to the diploma in community health nursing, then the program is going to be 1.5 years if they do it full-time in person. It will be 2 years if they do it part-time via distance education. This program allows students to become certified or become registered as registered community health nurses with the Kenyan Nursing Council. This is comparable in the United States to registered nurse licensure. And students who complete this degree are allowed to either go into a specialization in nursing, which you're going to talk about on the next slide, or they can also enroll in a post-basic Bachelor of Science in Nursing program. If you'll go to the next slide, please. Okay, the next slide is either going to be called a post-basic or a higher diploma, and it's called either one or the other, depending on the institution itself, but it's the same credential. This post-basic specialization or allows for post-basic specialization in a particular area of nursing. So where you see that blank, it's the area of specialization. So like pediatric nursing, oncology nursing, perioperative or post-operative nursing, that kind of a thing. The admission requirement for this program is the diploma in community health nursing, plus you have to be actively registered as a registered community health nurse with the Kenyan Nursing Council and have a minimum of 1 year of nursing experience. The length of the program is typically going to be 1 year for most of the nursing specializations. There are a handful that are slightly longer. We don't have a full list of all the various specializations because they keep adding to and taking away from, but you should see post-basic or higher diploma in the title of the credential. And this is another undergraduate level credential. I do also want to advise you that this particular credential in conjunction with the diploma in community nursing does equal either 4 or 4.5 years of nursing, but this is not considered the equivalent of a bachelor's degree because there actually is a Bachelor of Science in Nursing, either the regular entrance or the post-basic BSN that is considered the bachelor credential in nursing instead. So I also wanted to point out that there is not currently an entrance yet in the Kenya credentials list in EDGE that shows the Bachelor of Science in Nursing or the post-basic Bachelor of Science in Nursing. So stay tuned next month because hopefully we'll have additional information on nursing credentials for you from Kenya. And with that, I will hand the floor back to Robert.
Thank you, Shelby. And again, apologies to everyone for mixing. It wasn't the slides that were mixed up. It was me that was mixed up. But in fact, we, in our little 30-minute prior preparation to the 1 o'clock onset of this webinar, we did have Ethiopia first. And it's been heavy on my mind because it's so mystifying, as you probably gathered from the earlier presentation. I will say this, Candace Turcott, participating out there, has provided some good information in the chat that I will use. Thank you so much, Candace, for as a starting point to dig a little deeper on that Ethiopian problem until we can maybe get some answers. Now to Pakistan. Again, we have some nomenclature issues, but it's much more benign. And there's not a lot of mystery here. It's pretty straightforward. What came across to us was someone pointing out that there was no credential entry in Edge Pakistan for the Doctor of Physiotherapy. And of course, Drew went in immediately to check that out and saw that there was, in fact, a credential entry. I did as well. It is fairly far down the list, so it's conceivable, and it's right next to Doctor of Pharmacy. So maybe the person got sort of mixed up, but it's definitely there. However, we may need to edit the note a little bit there. The note essentially says that as of 2019, both the Bachelor of Science in Physiotherapy and the Doctor of Physiotherapy were both eligible to practice physical therapy in Pakistan. And that's true. But we need to add a little bit more to it. Let me give you a little history of the development of physical therapy. And in a minute, I'll get into that nomenclature thing in education in Pakistan. Basically, in 1956, a 2-year diploma of physiotherapy was offered for the first time. This became in 1961 a 3-year DPT, if you want to call it that, or DIPPT. Sorry, that's a better acronym, DIPPT. And then in 1963, we see the first Bachelor of Science in physiotherapy being offered. Because, most of the degrees in Pakistan certainly were 3 years. We're seeing more 4-year ones nowadays. But it was 3 years like any other. Then in 1999, the University of Karachi takes that 3-year BSPT and turns it into a 4-year BSPT. So from 99, we have a Bachelor of Science in Physiotherapy that is 4 years in duration. Then, lo and behold, in 2008, Pakistan introduces the Doctor of Physiotherapy. Undoubtedly, as a result of what's going on in the United States at the time, just a reminder to most of you out there, and I know Todd Colvert's out there, so he certainly knows this story. But of course, in the United States, there was a BSPT, an MSPT, and then finally a doctorate in physiotherapy, a PhD. However, and the practicing degree in the United States was the BSPT, which then went away. And then by 2015, the MSPT goes away, or MPT, I guess it's probably better, and was replaced by the DPT, which we have today. As I just explained, Pakistan was going through an evolution as well until it gets to 2008, and they create this Doctor of Physiotherapy. Now, what about the note that's in there that says as of 2019, and that's probably the last time we had checked, both a Bachelor of Physiotherapy and a Doctor of Physiotherapy were able to practice. It doesn't mean that the bachelor's degree was continuing to be awarded. In 2008, when Pakistan decides to go, or the physical therapy providers, institutional providers, let me just put it that way, when they decide to offer the 5-year Doctor of Physiotherapy, they quit awarding a Bachelor of Physiotherapy. However, even as of 2019, and I'm sure as of 2024, there are physical therapists out there in Pakistan with only a practicing bachelor's degree, which is perfectly legal, but it's simply being replaced. And over time, we'll see, just as we do here in the United States, that we'll only have DPT holders. Now, let's get to the part about the nomenclature. As most of you know, the deal and credentials from the subcontinent is very Anglophile, and certainly represents, for historical reasons, the educational system of Britain, although with a somewhat of a local flavor to it. And physiotherapy is the British Anglophone term for physical, what we would call here physical therapy. But what's interesting is that the British term physiotherapy, while still definitely used in Pakistan, and I think almost exclusively in India used, suddenly is giving away in Pakistan to use of the term physical therapy. This is because increasingly it appears Pakistan's educational system is reflecting more an American flavor than so much the UK flavor. And so some of the schools will start to use physical therapy in place of the term physiotherapy, so that you might see doctor of physical therapy rather than doctor of physiotherapy. It really kind of depends on the school. As we were talking about this in our prep session, Shelby and I think Jasmine and a couple of others quickly went online and started checking some Pakistani universities, and we're seeing different usages. So one might have physiotherapy, one might have physical therapy. So what I will probably do is add a tamper with the note that's already in there. It's still true what we're saying, that as of in fact, we could even change it to as of 2024. Both are practicing, but I will say something, the fact that the bachelor's is no longer offered, because there's definitely no mention of it anywhere in the physical therapy community in Pakistan. And then maybe, and then add the bit about use, interchangeable use of physiotherapy and physical. Give it back to Shelby. Or do I? Yes.
Thank you very much. The last topic we want to talk about is another question that came in via submitted update. One of the users noticed that the grading scale tables on the countries that offer the Caribbean Examinations Council's examinations wasn't consistent, and wondered, should that be the same since they're offering the same examinations? So what I did was look at all 16 of the countries that you see on the screen, and in the interest of time, and because I know that all of you can read really well, I'm not going to read that screen to you, but the user was correct. The grading scale information on these countries was not consistent. And in fact, for the CSEC grades, which we'll talk about in just a minute, there weren't any suggested equivalencies, suggested US equivalencies for the letter grades. So we have proposed the changes that you'll see on the upcoming slides. I want to point out that, again, these do still have to be voted on by the IESC members. And once that's done, whatever the vote is, we will make the edits on all 16 of these country pages. So hopefully that will be coming up in the next few weeks. But if you'll go to the next slide, what we have recommended is that we'll have 2 different grading scales listed for the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate, because from their inception in 1979 till the first part of 1998, they had one scale. It was a 5-point scale. You'll see the Roman numeral grades, and then where you see in the Indigenous letter grade column, those are what they call profile grades, the descriptors, and then we've added the suggested US equivalent letter grades. And then we also have suggested a note at the bottom to let you know that students who got grades of 1 or 2 in either the general or technical proficiency grades meet the standard to matriculate into post-secondary institutions. And if you'll go to the next slide, it discusses the CSEC recommended grading equivalencies since June 1999. So this is the one that's currently in effect, and this is more likely the one that you're going to see for students for the last 26 years. And it goes from grade 1 to grade 7, again, with that profile grade showing in the letter grade column, and then the suggested US equivalents. There's been a minor edit to the note because now that they have a 6-point, I said 7, it's a 6-point scale, I'm sorry. They will, if they attain a grade of 1, 2, or 3 in the general or technical proficiency grades, that meets the standard for the student to then matriculate into post-secondary institutions. And then if you'll go to the next slide, there's only one grading scale for the Caribbean Advanced Proficiency, or CAPE, examinations, because this grading scale has not changed since CAPE started to be offered. This is the 7-point scale. And so we have This is the same that's already on many of the country pages, but some of the CXC countries did not include the CAPE grading scale. So what we do want to do is make sure that the same grading scale is on all 16 of those country pages. Since this credential is standard, these two credentials are standard across all 16 of those countries. So that should be hopefully voted on very shortly by the IESC, and hopefully it will be available in Edge for you before our next user group meeting. And with that, I will give the floor back to Drew or Dave.
Thank you so much, Shelby. So me and Dave, we both are working on updating all of the ladders, the graphical representations of the education system for you guys as we're going through. Some of the ones that are scheduled to be posted by the end of this week within our system, we actually just had a little system upgrade, and so there was a slight delay in some publishing. But Jamaica, Lebanon, and Kazakhstan should all be up on the websites. I believe it's going to be like Saturday night as we're cranking into Sunday morning. So for those of you that are up late or possibly in a different, hemisphere around the other side from where I am, maybe you'll see that come in. But most of you are probably going to see that on Monday morning. I saw a question that came into the chat a while ago that was looking for some advice on how to use Edge. So one of the things is going to be these graphical representations of the education systems for that instance where you come across a credential and you're unfamiliar with the system at all, and you're trying to understand what are those benchmarks. That's the way the ladders are going to be some of the common pathways that a lot of learners use when they're navigating through the system. We're going to show the common crossovers where there is access to higher education in system from whichever track. We're going to try to show you various pathways that a student might take, and that'll just kind of help you when you're diving in for the beginning there. I would also encourage you to look over at the resources tab. That's a section that we have within Edge. And when you go in there, you're going to find links to primary resources where you're going to be able to see what the Ethiopian, what the relevant Ethiopian agency calls that 12-year credential. You're going to be able to, when posted, when available, you're going to be able to, understand what if there is a nationalized grading scale, we're going to have that information linked to the appropriate ministries that are issuing those things, because just a best practice, whenever you can look at those primary sources, the folks that are referencing the legislation, the laws, those are the things that actually matter for recognition and accreditation for if someone is allowed to issue particular degrees. You're going to find information on that over in the resources and a description in the overview. One of the things that we like to do, it's front facing. You don't need to be a subscriber to Edge, but as authors are interested in providing an overview of the education system in a written format, there's an opportunity that all of you can participate in where you do that research and you really help to update the profile. It's front facing, so you'll get credit and recognition for that authorship. And we work with various folks using various grants to promote some of this research. But I'm getting all over the place. Dave, earlier today, we were going to ask some folks and mention the surveys to a few different people, and I jumped the gun. I know that we just finished the Olympics and the Paralympics, and I jumped the gun. Can we go back, please, Belma, and look at the slides for the surveys that we were going to talk about, and then after we go through this, I just saw, I believe, someone requesting for you to go by slowly on those CSX slides as we're passing back through. But Dave, I'm going to pass this baton to you.
Thanks, Drew. I don't know what this has to do about Pakistan, but anyway, the first thing we'd like to let you know is just to remind you that the IIE Open Doors Fast Facts survey results are going to come out next week. Oftentimes, people are given kind of a 24-hour window into what's going to be published before it's published, and that information is embargoed. But in any case, it hasn't come out yet. The formal name of it, I just looked it up because it's just Open Doors in common parlance, is the Open Doors Report on International Educational Exchange. I think they've been publishing this since 1955. But in any case, I'll look for this. This is going to show up in your ACRO communities if you're an ACRO member, and we'll try to publish it in the International Activities stream for sure. But in any case, this basically will tell you the places of origin, top 25, for all international students in the world, basically. But it basically, the numbers are published for a U.S. audience that has the number of students that are enrolled in the U.S. It includes the OPT, optional practical training students also. So if you have any kind of, it's very useful outside the U.S. context. If you have any questions about trends, in enrollment, percentage of change between, this year and last year in terms of international student enrollment, there's a new student enrollment, so not counting international students that were already, counted in previous years that are, enrolled for more than 1 year. It has information on the states that host the most international students. California and New York always in the lead there. And it has information on the U.S. institutions that are hosting international students. And NYU is often in the lead in that column, at least from the previous years. Then it breaks it down into the level, undergraduate or graduate, and the change in each of those, and also the number of OPT students and the percentage of change, either higher or lower in there. So just a reminder to keep a lookout for that. The Open Doors data was what we used to basically determine which ladders we should work on first, back when that ladder project started in probably 2019 now is how long we've been working on that, although it accelerated especially in 2021 and 2022. As far as the next survey, this is a little bit closer to home. If we could have the next slide. Thank you. This has kind of a short fuse on it, I'm sorry to say. We devised the questions, but we weren't in charge of putting the survey together. So it's basically just been available since this morning. And we'd like to ask you all to take the EDGE survey. I'm going to put the link, which is it's also in the exchange community and international activities, but I'm putting a link into the chat for the survey. If you could take the survey, it's just a way for us to know, what you think of EDGE, what you think could be added to EDGE, how you're using EDGE, and option for input that will help us as we try to keep it current. The catchphrase forever has been, education is dynamic and fluid and everything. Well, it's really true. And changes that happen, today are old changes by the time next week comes around. And we're constantly striving to update EDGE and get these new credentials in there. There's just an awful lot to know. And I was thinking before, as I was listening to Robert and Shelby go through their presentations, that this is incredibly interesting stuff to me anyway. And I think the fact that you're here at the EDGE user group means that you're kind of a credentialy nerd too. Imagine, just dropping someone from your private life in on one of these webinars and see what they would think of it. It's one thing to the people that are immersed in it, and probably another thing to anybody else. But in any case, that is neither here nor there. We encourage you to take the survey. Please take it. It closes out by the end of the day tomorrow, which is Friday. I'm planning to take it myself. Hadn't occurred to me until it was suggested that we also can take the survey, who are working on the EDGE project all the time. So that's my plea. Take the EDGE survey if you can. It's pretty short, and it'll really be a big help to us. We're all gathering later this week and into next week, kind of a EDGE summit to figure out how we can best, serve the users in the future. And I'll hand it back to you, Drew.
Thank you, Dave. And really, I put it down in the chat, but the only thing that we have heard in the past consistently that we unfortunately will not be able to create for you at this moment is that GPA calculator. Acro does offer training on how you would be able to go in and do those calculations yourselves. You can do them asynchronously. That's available. There's information on our website about where you can get those trainings. We can also stick that into the chat. But tell us everything. It is your feedback that really has helped us to move things along and to be more responsive. It was feedback that we got from all of you at the beginning of the pandemic, when there were so many changes happening with exam schedules. It was hearing from everyone that there needed to be places where information could be archived and accessed that would talk about the impacts that those changes in scheduling are going to have on students that are going to be showing up in offices 4, 5, 8, 10 years down the line. Why is this not in line with the rest of the chronology that I would expect? Oh, there was that global pandemic that was impacting everything. It was hearing from y'all that got us to get the emergent news items going on, and that is something. It's on each of the overview pages within EDGE. We look through and look for news stories that are relevant to the education systems that are present in all of these EDGE profiles, and we're going to be posting those news stories for you, updating as we can. But one more little plug: if you have time to do the survey, we would really appreciate all your feedback, and we really do care. We really do read it all. Thank you. Now we're going to move on and skip all of these slides, except I saw there was that request for the CXC slide. Let's see. I saw there was a request for the next slide after this. And just leave that up for just a couple seconds. I think someone's probably looking to get like a good idea about what we're looking at here. It's going to be posted tomorrow, which is a good thing. But today we want to have just a few more minutes to talk about any of the questions. Dave, I know you put me right back here, but I've already talked about the ladders that me and you worked on together that are going to be published. The other things that we're going to talk about are the webinars. You're going to be able to go to the webinar archive page, as I just mentioned, and get a copy of this. Belma said it should be within about a day. And you can also go and at no charge, you can register for all of these webinars as well. So if you are going to be attending SEM, there's some information there for you. We just closed out the proposal request for our annual meeting that's going to be in Seattle this upcoming spring. Something to keep in mind in the back of your mind there. But SEM's our next one, and so if you're going, check out the free webinar. You can go in and look through our archive and find all of these things that would be useful resources for you in your office. And another place that you can contribute is in our Exchange communities. We've got, this is now on the next slide, we talk about member benefits to that everyone that is at an Acro member institution, or you don't necessarily have to be an institution. You might have a relationship with Acro where you hold a membership. And just to be clear, that is different from an EDGE subscription. An Acro membership is going to grant you all kinds of benefits, discounts on trainings. It's going to provide weekly newsletters. It's going to provide quarterly scholarly journals. It's going to give you a discount on your Edge subscription. But if your institution or your organization or who you are currently affiliated with in that professional role, if they have a membership with Acro, they are going to be able to add on an unlimited number of members who are going to be able to take advantage of these benefits. Now, the benefit that we're talking about right now is the exchange. And that is a community where you can go in and you can ask these questions. If we're going to be here, generally speaking, every third Thursday. Next month, we've got a staff retreat for Acro where we're all going to be connecting. And we're virtually getting together in Tahiti, and we are going to be moving it for next month from the third Thursday to the Wednesday just after the third Thursday. There's not really a catchy way to remember that, but it's the 23rd. This time, I want to highlight a new community that we've just gotten created within the Acro Exchange. Dave, I believe that you have a little bit of familiarity with some of why Hala was working to create this international institutions community. It's for those who are at what types of institutions?
Yeah, my knowledge is fairly shallow and fairly narrow, but I do know that this new community is designed to help the special needs and interests, or address the interests of people at U.S. style institutions that are operating abroad. So, the American type university in X, for example, we always think of AUB in Beirut, but of course there are hundreds of these institutions now, which are U.S. style institutions that work either with the permission of the authorities in the countries where they operate, or are actually, recognized at ministerial level in education as recognized institutions. But in any case, if you are one of these people who works for such an institution, U.S. style institution abroad, there is this new community that's designed basically as a forum for just your private, personal, top secret clubhouse problems, such as they might be. And so that's what I know about the new community.
I think that's an excellent way to kind of give the idea that was behind it. That's one of the things that is existing within the Acro Exchange. We're trying to make sure that these different communities of practice exist, right? So we've got the international activities community. Dave, you referred to it earlier. That was another place that the survey was posted, but the international activities community is a great place for you to ask your questions and share your knowledge when you can contribute in that positive way. The same way that we insist upon redacted documentation to protect the student. If you're going to be sharing any documents, they must be redacted. FERPA applies even if you are not in the United States. We respect all of the learners and want to be sure that none of that information is accidentally distributed. So we don't even review things. They are immediately deleted before review, before we can have any access to any of that. So do it on the international activities. But right now, you have some experts and some colleagues. So do we have, Jasmine, are there any questions that have kind of been filtered through that you were able to see as we were going through the conversations today?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was even able to get one out of the chat and rescue it from anonymity. The first one we'll take came in the chat rather than the Q&A. And this question deals with the CXC, I believe, and it was, if the grade 5 is acceptable standard for matriculation, why the USD equivalency? And I will just hand that over to whoever wants to take it.
I can answer that. And Robert, feel free to pitch in if you want to add anything, or if I
Oh, I
say
will.
correctly. The grade of 5 on the CSEC examination is still considered a passing grade. It's the lowest level passing grade. And so it is a passing grade, but it does not allow for admission into universities. To be perfectly honest, I don't know if that, I mean, I believe that does allow for limited entry into like technical vocational programs at post-secondary institutions other than universities. But for that reason, that's why we consider it a D. It is still a passing grade, even though it does not allow for university admission.
Let me add, it was Todd Colbert that asked the question in chat. And Todd, I just want to remind you that the NCAA guide, going back as far as currently the most current edition shows it as a D. And I looked at one on my desk there that's about 10 years old or more, and it also said the same thing, that it's that Roman numeral 5 grade is a D. And I would just remind you, Todd, that you and I were on the NCAA committee together that probably formulated those scales way back when. But one thing that's different in the NCAA guide than what you see in EDGE is that there are descriptors. I don't know where we found those, Todd. We found them somewhere. And for Roman numeral 5 grade, it's called weak. So I don't know. We don't have it in EDGE, and I don't know where there is, and I don't want to put it in there unless I can find definitive proof that those descriptors are used. But in the NCAA guide, anyway, it does say weak for Roman numeral 5 grade. So that does sound like a pretty good solid D to me. Anyway, that's what I noticed in there.
All right, thanks, Robert. I'm going to go on to the next question, which is from the Q&A. And that was just someone wondering if we could please share where the IGS or IGCSE grade scale is, and an explanation about its use in multiple countries.
Dave, I'll be glad to do that.
There you
I saw
go.
that earlier and actually checked. I think the only place that we show it on a grading scale page in EDGE is for the UK, which is sort of counterintuitive because it's not designed for the UK. But I would point out that the exam, basically what we say in UK is, here's the GCSE grading scale, and then underneath it we say, and international GSC, general certificate of secondary education. And so those, of course, are used abroad from the UK, at the English school in Kuwait, at a British school in Pakistan, at one in the UAE, places like that. It's essentially, it's the GCSE, but it is, they put the I in there for international because it's used abroad. It's not used inside the UK, but it is administered by Cambridge IE, or Cambridge International Exams, among other things that they offer in the way of examinations. But they administer it, and it's found that those schools abroad, so that those schools are not following the indigenous educational system. So they're not getting intermediate exam in Pakistan, or they're not getting HSC, higher secondary certificate, in India. What they're doing is the IGCSE, similar to, say, IB, that's done around the world or in the United States. So that's basically the use of it. The grades are the same, the grading format, and therefore the equivalencies are going to be the same, no matter that it's in Karachi, Pakistan, or somewhere else. But that's where you can find them. I did a glance at a couple of Anglophone countries, and it's not in there, which is funny because I was just mentioning to Todd Colbert out there about the NCAA guide. Well, the NCAA guide does have the IGCSE grading scale in every Anglophone country that they come across that uses that contains the the IGCSE in some form or fashion. Back to you, Dave.
Great, thanks. I'm Shelby. I wasn't sure if you wanted to add anything about IGCSE.
No, other than what Robert said, no, I don't. I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, you'd
Yeah.
have to put it in every Anglophone country, or we'd have to figure out a way to make that accessible so it's there. But yeah,
Yeah, it's the same problem we face with other things, including the IB. There's no great place to make it very accessible in Edge unless we, dedicate a new
right.
arm of the.
And then we
of
also have
Morgan. Yeah.
countries like France, like Germany, like the provinces in Canada that export their certificates outside of France, Germany, the Canadian provinces, whatever. So it's just a question of, is there a way that we can make this information available within Edge without creating a lot of work and a lot of logistical nightmares? But yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, thanks for those answers. Unless I'm mistaken, I don't see another one that came up in the chat or the Q&A. If I could, I'll just make an editorial comment. Going back to the GPA calculator issue, GPA, as we use it in U.S. institutions to make decisions, is very much of a a non outside of the institutions that use that kind of scale thing. If you think that you're going to take a 30, 40, 50 point, 20 point, 10 point scale from abroad, 6-point scale for that matter, and be able to say with any degree of accuracy where the 3.27 value is on that scale, it's not just a simple matter of arithmetic. And I think it would, this is a pie in the sky dream, but learning to deal with international admissions divorced from the GPA, which of course you can't do because your schools are telling you what you have to do, would be a wonderful thing. It implies a level of specificity to start assigning B- to some numerical grade somewhere. You can get ranges, you can get feelings of performance bands, but it is very difficult. That's only one of the reasons that we won't really have one in Edge. There are other issues, just practical ones involved. But in any case, I will be quiet about that until I get a little older and lose my fear of sounding like an angry old man yelling at the clouds. Drew, bring me back to what have we missed here? We just have a few minutes to close her down.
Well, so since we don't have any additional questions, I was just going to highlight that for anyone that is unable to complete the survey that was sent out, we also would welcome any feedback if you're wanting to just send an email that can come into us at edge@acro.org if you just want to provide any of that specific commentary. And for anyone that has questions about any of the questions that have actually been put into that survey, we appreciate all your feedback about that, and I will be sure to pass relevant information along to the folks that wrote and distributed the survey. I'm looking forward to hearing positive contributions that anyone has, and look forward to our next Edge user group. It's going to be, like I mentioned, not as catchy as Third Thursday, but the third Thursday, the Wednesday after, right? Yeah. Guys, I really appreciate all of you. Jasmine, Robert, Shelby, Thelma, Dave, let's see, who all, like Todd, Ina, like everyone has been contributing throughout this entire time. And again, International Talk Like a Pirate Day. Make a bad pun, you landlubbers.
Talking the subjunctive. Okay. Thanks, everyone.